1. What comes next?
Kai has an autism spectrum condition, but he goes to his local primary school in southeast London.
3, 4, 5.
For the last decade, Horne Park has taught pupils with special educational needs under the same roof as their peers, with specially trained teachers that can meet their needs, if necessary, during separate lessons.
4. Well done. Ready.
But at playtime, Kai and his mates, whatever their additional needs, can all hang out together. A vision of the future, according to the government.
Our Company Secretary of State,
which today launched its long-awaited education white paper and plans for fundamental reform to SEND in England, because too many children and their families are being failed.
Madam Deputy Speaker, we will fix the SEND system once and for all. Yeah. Today is a realisation of those children's rights, the right to high expectations and outcomes and the support to fulfil them.
The system we have now is broken. Parents are at their wits' end trying to get their children the help they need, and local councils are on the verge of bankruptcy because costs have spiralled out of control into the billions. For many reasons, the number of pupils with an education, health and care plan has skyrocketed. It's already over 5% of the school population, and it shows every sign of continuing. In just 5 years, it's projected to be around 8%. Few disagree. This trend is unsustainable. The government says its transformation plan, which will cost £4 billion, means those numbers will peak in 2029 and by 2035 could drop back to where we are now. But under the new system, fewer children will be eligible for the highest level of support. Most pupils with additional needs will fall into the targeted category. There'll be a smaller category of targeted plus. Only those with the most severe needs, the specialist support tier, will still be entitled to an EHCP.
For those young people who in future will not qualify for an EHCP, what reassurance can you give to those families and young people that they will get the support that they need?
We will see an expansion in the rights that children have, so more children will get support than is the case right now through individual support plans. So an expansion in children's rights and making sure that more children are able to get that specialist support that at the moment can only be accessed through an education, health and care plan.
But what are the rights to appeal if a child isn't getting the kind of specialist provision their family wants?
We are really worried that those are the families who are going to lose out in this set of reforms. We need to make sure that there is enough support, but also the legal teeth to make sure that they get the support they need.
Can the Secretary of State guarantee her changes mean the voices of parents, the real experts on their children, will at long last be heard when decisions are made?
I just got bigger, did you see?
The government says the extra £4 billion will pay for specialist hubs in mainstream schools like Horne Park, thousands more specialist teachers, better teacher training across the board, and more external expertise. Schools will be required to create individual support plans for all children with additional needs. The Prime Minister today hosted parents with SEND children and told them this was personal.
My brother, Nick, who sadly died of cancer a year ago Boxing Day, had difficulties learning at school. And he was put to one side. He had to fight even to be seen, to be counted.
The government hopes its SEND consultation will go down well, not just with families, but backbench MPs too, and avoid another humiliating U-turn, like on welfare reform.
Well, our reporter Ruben Reuter has been looking at the government's plans and joined me earlier to discuss them. I asked him how the announcement had been received by families.
Well, when the government announced they were reforming the SEND system, lots of people were nervous. Last year I filmed with families who had waited months or sometimes years to get an assessment. Even then, they didn't always get the support they asked for. So there is no doubt the old system wasn't working. The reaction to today's changes seems to be mixed. Many welcome the additional money to support inclusion, but people are worried that legal rights might be weakened.
So what would success look like for the families of children with special needs?
Families want a clear system to navigate, one that doesn't cause stress and where they don't have to fight for support. A good system would make sure children get help early so that everyone has the chance to thrive, whatever their needs. There is still time for families to input on the changes laid out today. The government has announced a consultation period that is running from now until May the 18th.
Well, I also spoke to the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, earlier today before news of Lord Mandelson's arrest had broken, and I began by asking her whether the £4 billion announced today will be enough.
So the £4 billion I'm announcing today is in addition to the extra investment that's already going into schools. And the money I'm talking about will allow for schools to better provide, for example, speech and language support, educational psychology support, and a much more tailored approach to meet the needs of children within mainstream. But we're doing a lot in the here and now to take action and to address that.
Right, but I mean, given how much is being spent, it's many, many more billions than that. The question is whether it can really be as transformational as you want it to be. You know, at least one union has said it's a drop in a bucket.
Look, I just fundamentally disagree. And this is something that parents have been asking for many, many years, that they don't want to have to fight to get the support their children need. But the system we've got makes that happen. So this will allow for schools to provide better support earlier, more tailored support for children. I think this is a really exciting opportunity to deliver a better education system that works for many more children than is the case right now.
One of the things that's got many parents very worried is the idea of being reassessed for their EHCP. The Children's Commissioner wants you to guarantee that nobody who has currently got an EHCP will lose it. Can you give them that guarantee?
So I can guarantee that no one will be losing the support that they need. And what the Children's Commissioner has also said is that she really welcomes the approach that we're taking. The Children's Commissioner really welcomes. So what will happen is that over the course of the Parliament, once we've built up the support that is needed within mainstream, when we've made the investment happen, when we've made schools more inclusive, as we get towards 2030, we will start to review what children need and where their needs are. So that's children who are currently in year 2. So this is a long way off into the distance. I've also been clear that children who are in specialist provision will be able to stay within specialist provision because I don't want to disrupt their education. But the support that currently you only get through an EHCP will be available to many more children than is the case currently.
Right, but, you know, as you know, the security that people get from an EHCP is that it's legally enforceable. Will these new ISP, individual support plans, be legally enforceable?
So all schools will be required to produce an inclusion strategy, and individual support plans will have legal underpinning in that they will have a clear status, schools will be required to produce them, and parents will be involved in shaping that provision. But this will also mean that we're identifying and meeting need much earlier. It takes a long, long time to go through that arduous EHCP process. Parents have to fight. Often by the time the EHCP is put in place, children's needs have changed, they've evolved, and it's not working. So the individual support plans that will cover more children, many, many more children than currently get support in the current system, will allow for better, flexible, more identified need happening much more quickly.
But the danger, as you know, is that the EHCP will remain the gold standard, and people who only get these new ISPs will still want more entitlements that they may get from an EHCP, and it will still be a fight, you know, because schools don't always deliver what people want them to.
So we will be retaining education, health and care plans within the new system. But we will have national standards around all of this. We will have specialist provision packages that will be designed by experts, including in health and education. And we will end the postcode lottery that we see at the moment, that even where children have education, health and care plans, there can be huge variation in terms of what's delivered. But the big step change that's going to happen is that you won't need to get an EHCP to get the kind of support that is available through an EHCP. So more speech and language provision within our schools, more educational psychology support, and needs met earlier and more quickly.
I mean, the white paper is really about closing the attainment gap. and tackling these long, protracted problems about deprived families just not achieving the same standards. But somebody's going to have to lose in that if you're changing the funding formula. So which schools are going to get less?
But it's going to make a big difference to schools too, because they have to pick up the pieces of wider societal failure. And in lifting children out of poverty, we're also investing in our education system.
But there will be losers, won't there? I mean, there will be schools that get less as a result of this reorganisation of the way you allocate money.
We're seeing a big increase in school budgets, and schools will get more through the extra investment that I've announced today. But we are going to consult on how we make sure the money that we're spending on children from less well-off backgrounds is better targeted and delivers better results. I do think that is the right thing to do.
Bridget Phillipson, thank you very much.
Thank you.